are we talking about? That's why, it's like the more people talk about spirituality or religiousness or God experience, any of that, it becomes so muddled because words. Words. They always mess it up. You know what I'm saying? They fall short of what the actual reality is. They can point at it, but it's not it. Right? That's the leap of the will of the person. If they engage that trail or not, that it actually opens up. Right? So when I say no concern for self, no concern for the ego we build. Right? The ego is just pretending to be the real deal. Being is the real deal. Being is what you actually are. Ego is just pretending to be what you actually are. Right? But if it can get you to take some of the energy, the life force from your actual being and hand it over freely to it, well, then it can say that it actually exists. That's ego. That's self. Self is what is separate from other selves. That's how it happens. That's how the separation even begins. Is by adopting all this bullshit. All this baggage. And stacking it up. So here's a self, and here's a self, and here's a self, and here's a self. They're all in a box, surrounded by a fence. And no one's happy. No one's joyful. No one's satisfied. Well-being is elusive at best. And common sense, well, not very common anymore. So this is what we've done. This is what we've allowed the ego mind self to do. The mind has now got its own image. It will present it to you. And that's what we will interact with. There will be no feeling. There will be no being, because being at a certain point, what you really are is going to reject it. It can only go so far before the being says no more. So the life force steps out. Right? And then you got to look for an alternate source of energy. Just to live. Because it won't be the air. Because whatever that life force is in it that gets into your lungs and keeps you alive, it'll leave. When we reject it enough, it will step away from us. I'm totally convinced of that. We may experience that day. Where our meaning drops off. The toughest will survive. The ones most present, oh yeah, they'll be, when the bottom drops out, they'll just be floating. Because they will have, used this life for its intended purpose. To grow. To evolve, to move on, to transform, to continue. I mean, humankind's been parked here for 10,000 years. Building empires, sexuality, and war. And empire and war and sexuality, empire and war and sexuality, and bigger bathrooms and bigger TVs and bigger, comfier cars, faster cars, more freeways, more and more and more and more and more and more. We've been doing this for 10,000 years. People say, well, the economy, you know what it is? People are sick and tired of doing this. Let's do something else. It's kind of like we've been playing Monopoly for 10,000 years. Can we please play something else? Because it's all a game anyway. And the brightest people will always be able to sail through this because they see the pockets of opportunity and they know how to take them. Right? They know how to use them. So they'll find them, they'll find that niche, they'll get in there, they'll crawl around. They'll make something out of themselves. And that's groovy and all. But what about the original intent? Which was to continue to. You don't have time to stop and build anything. And really, if you're confused at all, why would you want to build anything? I mean, if all of your ducks aren't in a row, and you're not living with well-being 24 hours a day, I really don't want to build anything until I have that. Why would I? Well, because my life is short. Well, whose life is short? Mine has been going on since life's been going on. Is that short? Is that long? What is that? I don't know. It's always now. I've never not known a now. So whose life is short? The now is eternal. It's not that I have all the time in this world, but I have plenty of, let's just say, room to do what I need to do. You begin to understand that it's the present moment where all the energy is at. It's not anywhere else. It's all present. The illusion is that it's away from us. And as long as we believe that illusion, we keep it away from us. Once we realize that that's actually an illusion, then we get to be present, which means we get the stamp of authenticity, because we're actually here. And that, no one can tell me there's a better feeling than that. I've felt the gamut of feelings. Present is beyond them all. No real way to even describe it. It's just energetic. Totally understandable. I thought the mind's evolving. You understand that. The moment's a little thicker than people imagine. It's vibrant. It's kind of on the verge of being solid but isn't. That's what makes it so pungent. It's such a narrow thing. It's like the edge of a razor blade. That's where the moment is. It's not quite solid. It's not quite completely energy either. It's a mix of both. So everything gets real fluid there. It's just an opportunity. The possibility is wide open. For where anyone will put their consciousness for that. The trick is to stay focused on it, not to